Meeting is now streaming live on Facebook. It says,
That's what it says. Let's just see. I'm not sure. Let's see what's happening. Am I streaming live? Yes, I am streaming live. Okay.
I have to change. Yeah.
I'm not on YouTube, but I am on Facebook, and I was just playing a little bit of putter. The sound.
That's not me playing, by the way.
That's not you playing?
That's my song. It's Charles Davis.
Oh, but you're playing bass.
Charles Davis is a tenor player.
Right. However, you are playing bass, though.
It's
just
okay.
Share for a moment. See, here you are.
Oh no,
And there you go. All right. I'm going to go down a little because I'm like I've said before already this week. I don't know what Facebook is up to, taking people off. And sorry about the beginning, ladies and gentlemen. I just, technical difficulties. But here we are with the dear, wonderful Putter Smith. Hello.
Hi, I feel wonderful. I have a curse, the computer curse. The simplest thing goes wrong for me with computers.
Oh.
The funny thing is I was the first guy on the block with a computer. I had a computer called an Osborne.
Oh, wow.
And then I got a Commodore 64 and actually scored a couple of movies on it.
Wow, really?
And then I got a Performa that was a Apple, or whatever the name of that company is. And I had two or three of those. And then I began getting, what do you call it? The kind I have now, not Apple.
Oh, like a PC?
Yeah. Yeah.
So were those computers big? Were they like desktop big computers?
Oh yeah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I was on top of it all, but now I couldn't the last one I got, I couldn't even turn it on.
Wow. That
First thing,
actually is the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, really. So it's I've grown into the aged trying to work a computer. It's all right.
I have a picture on my cartoon So a husband and a wife, an older husband and a wife, and the wife is on the phone, and she says, "Okay, your father's got a mouse. Now what?" And you see a mouse in a
Yeah, yeah,
mouse trap.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, yeah. There's a New Yorker cartoon with like it looks like about an 8-year-old kid coming through the with his school backbook coming through the front room, and he shrugs over. He says, "No technical questions." Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, you know who taught me computer? Annie Tompkins, Ross's wife.
Who?
Annie Tompkins, Ross Tompkins' wife.
I
Do you
didn't even
remember
know he
her?
had a wife. Yeah.
Oh,
Uh,
she was cool, but except this is how she described everything. But I still learned. So if you wanted to walk across the room, for instance, you would just go in a straight line across the room. But she would say, okay, see that wall over there? Go to that wall. Now, like, do the blind. Okay, now turn around. See the wall over there? So she would tell you how to do things with, like, 20 extra steps. And somehow I learned I should be smarter probably. But I'm just smart enough.
well, there you go. By the
So,
way, before we were over with, I thank you for asking me to do this, Kathy.
oh, you're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Oh, well,
Okay,
you're
I have to go now.
wait.
Yeah.
Well, Putter Smith and his wife VR Smith have been friends of mine for so long, and always just they're the kind of people that your heart feels good around. They make sense, and both musically and personally. So that's you, Putter. I'm speaking into the mic.
That's
Um,
better.
okay.
Now
Um,
when I do this,
yeah, I'll watch for that.
okay.
Scott Whitfield says hi. Michael Diak says hi.
Who was the first one?
Scott Whitfield.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Great. Well, tell him hi back. You know,
All right.
it's not a very good period of time for a social. There are people that call, and some people that call every day, and I just appreciate it so much. And yet I don't. I just watch The Office, Law and Order, and movies. That's my main occupation. Trying to keep my playing up.
Yeah.
I took a fall
Oh.
about 7 or 8 weeks ago,
Oh.
and I wasn't drunk or anything like. It was just turned, and my feet didn't turn, and I hit the floor,
Ooh.
and I have what's called a frozen shoulder.
Oh.
Sounds like something you'd get at a Chinese restaurant. A frozen shoulder with the snow peas. Anyway, it is really is something. It's taken me all this time to get to where I can play scales again.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, it's perfect timing. I had to cancel all my gigs. In case anyone is interested, there are no gigs. I saw Bill Mayer on the TV, who I greatly enjoy. Um, he said the restaurant workers just said nobody's been hit harder than the restaurant workers. And I said, well, actually, there is one group that's been hit harder.
Yeah.
Musicians, all of us.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I got to go now.
Well, I've seen Diamonds Are Forever a lot. And
You've seen it a lot.
yeah, which I always love because you're in it and your
My
part
God.
is so
Well, I
like
saw it
entertaining.
when it first came out. I saw it about 5 times. People wanted to go with me to see it and all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't until the sixth time that I detected a semblance of a plot. It was really like, yeah, what's happening here? I don't get it. But it actually had more of a plot than the last few Bond movies have been. It's just been one chase, a giant chase.
That he gets out of. Okay,
And
as long as we're talking about Diamonds Are Forever, would you tell us the story of how that came to be? Because you weren't really acting before that, right?
no, not then. And then uh, about 10 years later, a friend of VR's who was a very good actress in the improvising groups. Friend of hers, buddy, became an agent and called me up, said I can get you some gigs, and I said okay. And so I did about a half a dozen little gigs, and then he uh, saved up enough money to buy a Rotor-Rooter franchise in Vegas, and so he did that. It was a step up, cleaning toilets in Las Vegas. So that was the extent of my acting career. But how I got the gig in the first place was it's funny from the high point to the low point. Uh, uh, I got the call to play with Monk, who had somehow ended up in San Francisco without a bass player,
Oh,
and I was a Monk fanatic, and I guess one of the few at that time. That was about
hmm.
1970, and so I was recommended from two separate people, and so I went up to, and it's one of my favorite stories is VR. My wife is her father was a prize fighter at one point, and then when he met the woman he married, she says, "You got to give up boxing. I'm not going to be married to a punch drunk guy." And so he did immediately, and um, anyway, he was a boxer, but he taught VR how to box. She could hit the bag and all that stuff and jump the rope, and
Huh.
all that stuff, And so she had when she was adamant about something, she would assume a pugilistic stance, like ready to take a swing. So I worked this gig with this guy who's a accordion player, an LA musician. It was So I'm coming home. It's like 11 at night or something, and dressed in my tuxedo, and just spent 4 hours playing with an accordion player and a country player. And uh, she's standing in the doorway with the light behind her, and she's in her pugilistic stance. And she says, "You just got the call to go with Monk, and you better say yes." Yeah. So I did, but it was a thrill. I still tingle thinking about it. And I got up there, and we connected right away. And I worked a couple of weeks with him up there, and then there was a
Oh,
couple of weeks off, and then we went down,
yeah.
did Shelley's, and I just hung out with him all the time, and I was never trying to bug him. I was just with him. And so we were coming back from Mike's Pool Hall, which is up the street from the Jazz Workshop, I think it was, in San Francisco. We'd go there on the breaks, and then coming back, he stops. He says, "You want to go to Shelley's with me?" And I mean, and my tail is still wagging. It was one of the greatest things that ever happened to me. And and then one of my biggest mistakes in life was the next year they called me to go with him to Seattle for a couple of weeks. I can't remember the name of the club, and then Shelley's again. And I had just gotten a call to go. And the thing with Monk, there was no money. It was like $150 a week,
Wow.
and the only expense they paid was the airplane. You had to get your own room. But in those days, you could find a place for $10 a night or whatever.
Yeah.
And uh, I had just taken the gig with John Mayall to go to Australia to make $4,000 for a month. And I, of course, I had wife and two children and a house payment, and so it seemed to me at the time there was no question about it. But now I think back and I think every moment I spent with Monk was precious, and that money was gone 10 days later, you know. So that was my biggest mistake, I think, in my career, uh, among many. But that's the one that hurts the most. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
But
go now.
but you did get to play with him, and you were really affected by him. So I
Well,
mean,
I was I had already been affected because I had really spent a lot of time listening to him, and so when I played with him, I knew what to do and how to do it, and I knew most of the tunes.
what was the thing that struck you the most about when you played with him? I mean, I'm sure there was a lot of things, but do you remember? Were there certain things that really stood out? Like, wow.
Oh, there were a lot of wow moments. It was one time he was in San Francisco. It was a open front upright piano, and so he stopped there playing. I think just a gigolo or I'm confessing that I love you. One of those songs. And so he was playing and he was holding the notes down in his left hand and plucking with his right hand. And he plucked a very complicated thing, and it was like something like ding, 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 and then bong, and it was like the perfect note with the chord, and all those guys in the band went, whoa! We all did that at the same time. It was like, whoa, like Jesus,
Oh man.
what a great guy. He was really a great guy, very, very funny. Very funny. People try to make him out to be weird, and he the only thing that was very different about him was he would go for 2 days without speaking.
Oh.
And one time down in Shelley's, everybody would come in and say hello. He would sit there, and I felt like he was like a fountain of sweetness. It was like this beautiful vibe coming off him, and so Dizzy Gillespie's band was in town, and Candy Finch, the drummer, and the percussionist, and I'm very sorry I don't remember his name. They came in to say hello, and everybody's hanging out there and they're having fun and everything. And Thelonious has been silent for 2 days, and not saying anything. He's not negative, but just not saying anything. And then they got on the subject of Candy was saying, I'm studying karate, and this and that. And then they got on the subject of weapons, and the conga player says, well, I read that a gunshot will do a lot worse damage to you in the back than the front. And then Thelonious says, he says right there, he says, I guess that means next time you're running from the police, you should run backwards. So I mean, everybody fell out, but it's his wit was so instant wit, but he never abused it. They one night in San Francisco, his theme song was Epistrophe,
Mm-hmm.
and every tune on the set, he played the head, then he would get up and dance. Every tune, and then we went into the last tune, Epistrophe, the thing, and he got up to dance and lay, and I kind of have to do it. I mean, with sort of a dialect sound, and the timing, and he stands up and says, Monk, I paid good money to see you. Are you blind? That's the way it went down, just like that, like as if someone had written the script, Anyway,
Why was the lady upset? Because
she
she,
wanted to hear him play.
oh, she didn't
So
want
he
to
would
see him
just dance
dance.
through the whole song, and he didn't solo once that set.
Interesting.
Yeah, but yeah, well,
Well, some people, I don't you find that some artists are really they live on a certain something, a certain level, kind of spiritually, and when they look around, they see things in a very unique way. Sometimes I talk to artists, and for instance, they will. There's one singer I know, an older singer. When I speak with her, she looks over up there, and I can see that she's seeing this whole universe, and she's talking about what she's seeing. I can't see it, but she can.
Who is that?
Which part?
Who?
Oh, I didn't say who.
You didn't say who. Okay.
No, no, I just said a singer. When she talks to me, she looks up in this direction the whole time she's talking. And I don't know what she's looking at, but I can see her looking at this whole universe. So I think there are artists who they see something, and obviously he did. He was probably born that way.
Well, I have no idea. I have no idea.
Yeah, but you can guess.
Well, I can. Let's see. You've narrowed it down with girl.
Okay, so so I would like to know, how did you get the gig for Diamonds Are Forever?
Oh, well, see this connection of, I think you asked me, that was the original question, I think.
Yes.
And so I pre-digressed. So while I was working with Thelonious in LA, as I recall, I was in the back, and the gentleman came up to me and asked me where the bathroom was. And I told him. And that was that. Okay. And then about 3 months later, I get a call asking if I was the bass player with Thelonious and that gig. Yeah. And they asked me to come down to Universal. And I was thinking, well, they want a bass player. They want some music on the side, or they want, sideline. I'd done a few sideline gigs. And so I go in there, and they're sitting around, and the guy that has asked me where the bathroom was, Guy Hamilton, his name was. And there were several other people who I later learned were very famous, very high up people in the business, which I had no idea who they were. And they handed me the script, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, you're kidding. This can't be real, because VR was a very accomplished actress, she, and so I had, when she would be rehearsing a scene, I would work with her, so I knew how to read a script, and although I was not an actor. And so they said, read this part. It was one page, and somebody else did the other lines, and I did the thing. And then they all laughed, and said, okay, can you come in again? And can you wear a suit? Because I was wearing a Levi jacket, and you're kidding. I mean, I couldn't believe it, I went home, and VR says, you got to do it. So the second time they said, well, there'll be a screen test, of course, so I did the screen test with Paul Williams. It was, the character is two characters,
right?
Two gay, which I didn't know at the time. I had no idea, and I mean, we're talking about 50 years ago.
Yeah. Right.
And it was a real different scene then, like being a musician and having worked with, many gay people, and it wasn't like a, oh no kind of thing. It was like, but nevertheless, it was like, oh my God, is that what I look like? And so I didn't find out about this till long after the screen test and everything. I didn't find out about that until I didn't get a script until on the plane going for the first day shooting. And I went, oh my God, the first scene, these guys got to hold hands, and freaked me out. But the first, there was only one screen test, and the guy they had as my partner was Paul Williams, who I knew already from I was doing all these gigs at the uh, uh, what was it, the Troubadour, working with Mason Williams and trying to remember his name, Bill Cosby and a guy named I think Roy Silver
Uh-huh.
at a talent agency, and they would bring their acts and they'd play at the Troubadour, and they had their house band, which was a guitar player named Dick Rosmini and
Uh-huh.
and myself, and we would play these joints, and I always saw Paul Williams, and he was a real nice guy, very friendly.
Yeah.
So when he was the guy, and he's probably around 5 feet high, And at the time I was 6'2", and I'm now 5'11". Gravity's working.
Gravity. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pulling me down, man. Uh,
So you did the screen test with Paul Williams.
Paul, yeah, and I said, he said, now I said, I've never done anything like this. Anything you could tell me? He says, well, he says, they're going to say, and I've forgotten whether they're not going to say lights, camera, action. They're going to say speed, and then you'll hear like a recess bell, and then we go out. And what they wanted us to do was step out on the stage from the wings and laugh. That's what they wanted us to do. And so, okay, and Paul was very supportive, and so we hear the ring and we go out there, and Paul, he was a real good actor too. I don't know if you know that.
I don't remember, but I'm sure I've seen him and stuff.
Well, he was in The Loved One when he was about 13.
Oh, wow.
And he's done some other things, and so he's going like that and everything. And this is what I'm doing. I'm going totally silent. I couldn't get anything out. I mean, but I was pretending to be laughing, So I got the gig and he didn't. Although I think the barrier for him was he wanted more money than they wanted to spend. I don't know.
That must have been, I can, I'm imagining you and him.
Oh yeah.
What an interesting couple.
Well, yeah, it would have been great. It would have been great. So that was that. That's when we did the film, periods.
Where was that filmed? Where?
Well, the studio work was done at Pinewood Studios in London, and there was location shots in Vegas and Germany. I can't remember the city. I can't remember. A big Lufthansa, a big airport, and Amsterdam. Where else?
Did it take a few months?
Yeah, 3 months. 3 months, and the all of the things that were supposed to be Africa were Las Vegas. So there you go.
Well, that's good. I never got the full story on that before, so I'm glad. Thank you.
Well, you may not have gotten it today either.
Well, I got more of the story anyway.
I lie a lot.
I have two comments on Facebook. One is from Otmaro Ruiz. He says, I appreciate and admire Putter immensely. His playing always comes from the right place, present and organic, and every time I have a chance to play with him, it turns into the highlight of the month.
Wow, isn't that cool? Well, I return everything except he's a true maestro.
He is.
A true Wonderful, wonderful. And a funny guy too. Great.
He's a sweetheart, and his musicality is just so astounding. You're
Oh
right.
yeah,
He's a
no,
maestro.
no. Astonishing.
Yeah,
Astonishing.
yeah. And Les Benedict is here, and he said, he said late enough into a Japan tour when we were all sick of 7-Eleven ramen, we came across a Yoshinoya beef bowl, and Putter's comment was, "At last, American food."
Yeah. Okay, there you go. It was so good. God.
Well, ramen gets really old from 7-Eleven. That's like
Well,
in
I don't think I
Japan.
did
Like,
that. I didn't do that, but uh, the yen fluctuates.
yeah.
I mean, their currency remains very steady in the country.
Hmm.
So like lunch is 200 yen and or whatever it is, 700 yen, and I think a bowl of rice is 700 yen, and so when it was the first time I was there, it was something like 240 yen to the dollar.
Yeah.
So 700, yeah, that's pretty cool. It's like $3. But then the last time I was there, it was penny to a yen. So 700 yen is $7 for a little bowl of rice. Oh,
Yeah, that's about it. A thousand yen is $10. Yeah.
yeah, right,
Hmm.
right. Hmm.
Yeah. Oh, Sharon K, maybe Sharon and Kendall. Hello, Kathy and Putter.
Well, hello
Hello.
there. Hey, hey.
Mwah.
The entire audience is called in.
So Putter, you've you have had a really wonderful, warm, and musical career, and I've always admired your musicality, myself and a lot of people, and your
Thank you.
teaching. I've always admired your teaching style, um, and so I'd like to chat about various things that happened. I know as you came up, your brother was a bass player, and I can imagine that he was a mentor of yours at first, right? Or still, I don't know.
Well, we're 10 years and 10 days apart.
Oh,
And the first lesson I ever took on bass was with him. And the things he told me have informed my playing, as they say, uh, ever since. And that one thing is that we're not playing an instrument, we're singing. And there's something else, I can't remember what it was, but it's about integrity of music and musicality. And then he said I should go study with Bob Enevolson, which I did. And these are jazz guys. And everything that Bob taught me is still true and strong today. And then I had a series of uh, classical teachers, you know, really good classical teachers.
yeah.
And
And
I'm still studying.
you are you mean from another teacher?
Yeah, I'm studying with, yeah, yeah. I've had maybe 18 teachers.
Oh, okay. I think yeah, when we did that gig at the LA Athletics Club, wasn't the guy who you study with there an older European man?
Well, who comes to my mind is Lou Cabot.
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
He was a great teacher, great
Yeah,
teacher. And I've got one student now. I do teaching on Zoom, and he recently, he and his brother, he's 14, and his brother, I think, is 18, and they're spending the next year at Interlochen and studying with people there. So you got to get with a classical teacher, really learn to play the instrument. And I forget where I was going with that, but
that's okay. Yeah,
yeah,
we're just wandering through our conversation anyway.
yeah. What was your name again? Yeah,
I'm not sure.
yeah.
I have to check.
Perfect, perfect.
I have quarantine brain. Um, So, okay, well, we were talking about studying and your brother being a
Oh
mentor.
yeah, my brother. Okay. He was a mentor in the fact that was the first music that I really listened to a lot. And there was the stuff with the Jerry Mulligan Quartet and also with Chet Baker. And I guess I was 12 or something like that. And he had when he was 18, he went to New York and left a half-size bass at home.
Hmm.
And so I used to fool around on that, and I knew nothing. I didn't know anything, and it only had three strings, and I don't even know which ones they were. I don't even.
Wow.
And, so I was play along with that stuff all the time, and I knew what it's supposed to sound like, and I was able to relate what I was hearing to the instrument. And so I'm at Bell High School, which is I don't know, it starts in the seventh grade and goes to 12th. And somebody came up to me and said, "You're Carson's brother?" I said, "Yeah, my brother was very famous, Carson Smith. He was kind of like the West Coast version of Paul Chambers or somebody like that. He was on every record. He was on all these records. Talking about 1951, 52, 53. And this is 54, what I'm talking about now. So I was 13. And yeah, I'm Carson's brother. He says, "Well, can you play?" And I said, "Oh, yeah. Knowing nothing. I didn't even know the names of the strings. And
Oh.
I'm serious, but I knew what it's supposed to sound like. And so he says, "Well, we got a gig Thursday night." I don't think they said gig. I don't think that was it. We got a job Thursday night at the Compton Community Center. It pays $3. Yeah, sure. I said, knowing nothing. So I go to the gate. They pick me up, because I can't drive or anything. I'm 13 years old.
Oh, jeez.
And so go to the gig and I play, and this guy, the horn player on his name is Jay Barbaras, and they called him Little J. Because Big J McNeely, who that is. Well, this was Little J, and that was kind of like, rhythm and blues, and then standards like Autumn in New York. I mean, not Autumn in New York. Moonlight in Vermont. I remember.
Yeah.
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 Okay. So Blue Moon,
Hmm.
and so I just played completely by ear and everything, and they were, yeah, man, yeah. And then next thing you know, I'm working twice a week, and uh, and that's been like that ever since. Twice a week for $7. Yeah, yeah.
Wow, that's pretty impressive though at 13 years old.
Yeah, and in a way, and when you get to be my age, you begin thinking about what if I'd turned left, turned right? What if I'd gone a different way? Been a doctor, or just like Lou Levy says, "Hey, if we'd turned left, we'd have the oil." Lou, he was a very funny guy. Yeah, yeah.
So, so, um, so you're growing up in LA playing in, um, at the time. So that was the later 50s and early 60s, I guess, when you were starting to get into like your early 20s, right?
In I was born in 1941, so I was 20 in 1961. But I was working, a lot, and playing a lot of jazz. And this guy Pete Applin, his name is Lanny Applenapp, Pete Applin, and he has a brother Woody, and there was a jazz club called Mangold's. There used to be a lot of jazz clubs in LA. There's a lot of them, a lot of work. And he had 6 nights a week, at Mangold's with Reed Vaughn, the bass drummer who had gone crazy on the Stan Kenton's band, and a piano player by the name of Joanne Grogan, who married a guy named Charles Burkeen, and
Oh.
she became Joanne Burkeen.
Hmm.
And so we were there 6 nights. It was in those days you'd go into a joint 6 nights a week for a month with 2 1 month options. Yeah, I mean that was actually that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I ended up working there for 3 months, and I'm in the 10th or 11th grade in school. You know,
Yeah. Joanne Burkeen, right. Wow.
her husband was a really
Yeah.
wonderful tenor player, Charles Burkeen.
Hmm. That's funny because I know her name more than his name.
Yeah, well, he had a something. I don't want to get into it because I really don't know, but
Yeah.
something kind of stopped him. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, Lee Spath has joined and he says hi. And he
Who?
said, Lee Spath.
Hey, Lee. Yeah.
And he wants
Yeah.
to know, do you have any Errol Garner reflections?
Uh, Earl Garner. Impressions, expressions, or what?
Reflections.
Reflections. Okay. Well, I was working at a club on La Cienega back then when there were 4 or 5 places. There was a place called Rounders and something else that was sounded like the Rounders. And it was those joints where John Cassavetes used to hang out. Although I had no idea who he was, but that's anyway. I was working this gig, and I can't remember who I was playing with. It could have been Sid Levy. I really don't remember. Somebody will know. But Sunday nights, and Earl Garner used to come in and sit in, and he would. They would go find a telephone book for him to sit on. I mean, it was and he all he wanted to do was play. And then people would come and say, "Play Misty, play Misty." And he'd say, "No, no, no, come to the concert and see." But I'm just a sideman here. What a great musician. But I
Huh.
didn't get to hang with him at all, or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a funny little story. So Jamie Finley and I were traveling in Europe together, and we played this one club in Switzerland. It was really fun. And we met this guy who said, we were sitting and talking, and he said, yeah, my dad, my dad was kind of a musician. And we said, oh, really? What did he do? And he said, well, he was the voice of Errol Garner.
The voice of Earl Garner.
We were like, and then we realized, that it was a joke. And but he said he made a whole career out of being the voice of Errol Garner, Keith Jarrett, etc.
Uh-huh. All right. Well, God bless him.
That was pretty funny. I never heard that since. So yeah, but I came to LA in 1975 or 76, and even at the time that I came, there were a lot of places, but I think during the time you're speaking of, there was probably even more. And even at the time that because I had a gig at the Money Tree, which also, you got a gig there for a month. You were the featured entertainer, and you worked 5 or 6
Mhm.
nights a week there with Karen
Mhm.
Hernandez and the Senator Eugene Wright, and then the singer would change, Julie Kelly or Sherry Williams or somebody like that. But during the time, like earlier, so that was the 70s, and you said, so 10 years earlier, it was probably even stronger like that, and there were more clubs even, right?
Oh, you're talking to me?
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah. Talking to me. Well, yeah, there were a lot of gigs around, and you know, it was like it was before rock and roll took over.
Yeah.
And I know that there are sincere and gifted musicians that are into rhythm and blues and rock and roll and stuff like that. But at that time, everyone acknowledged uh, that jazz, speaking of bebop and like that, that was a higher language. You know, that's no longer the case. See, jazz is like ancient history, you know, but it's still it's a great art. You know, I had the tremendous privilege to play with a guy named Dick Carey, who I had never heard of, and probably most everyone has never heard of. But he was a great writer, and he had a band. He'd have like a band of say two maybe a 10-piece band, you know, and he would write. There would be one or two new arrangements every week, and the guys in the band. I was in my 40s at the time. The guys in the band were uh, much older, you know, 65, younger than me now, but they, you know, guys that had spent their career in the RCA orchestra or like that, CBS, and Abe Mose was one, and um, some great lady, Betty O'Hara, and Tommy Newsom, and all these people were that level of person, you know, and uh, I realized, and Dick played cornet and piano. In fact, I found out later he had been Louis Armstrong's piano player for a while, and so every once in a while he would have a solo, and I realized that he's playing in the era of the 30s, you know, like somebody like I can't say anybody's name, but Bunny Berrigan or somebody, I don't know, Stewart, got Rex Stewart, and the you know it's really different when you hear someone live. Even there's so much emotion and things you don't get on a recording. And I went, oh my God, this guy's really creative, even though he's playing in a style at that time that was 40 or 50 years old. And he was creative. And I realized that uh, creativity transcends style. That a creative person is going to sound creative no matter what they do, you know. And I mean, no matter what style they're playing in it. And it was real interesting. And then I got to hear so many stories on that band. The guys would come, guys like Bud Freeman and uh, different people whose names I didn't know because I was the youngest guy on the band, you know, by 25 years. And so people would come into town and they'd come to a Dick Carey rehearsal and they'd hang with Dick in front of the band, you know, and the band is all talking and everything. And then this Bud Freeman said something about says I spent 4 days with Louis, da, 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 and the room went silent and every head turned, and it would be like if I went into it and there was a young band, a big band playing, and some guy says, "Well, yeah, I spent 6 days with Coltrane, you know," and everybody go, "What was he wearing?" You know, I mean, you know, it'd be like, you know, that kind of thing, or the way I would about Charlie Parker, and that's when I realized there was something that I hadn't realized about Louis Armstrong. And I mean, I always thought of him as someone I loved as an entertainer. I just loved him, you know. And but I never seriously listened to him the way I listened to Charlie Parker or Chet Baker.
Yeah.
And uh, so then I began to listen to him in it with a different ear view, and I realized the genius of the man, you know. And then I heard Wynton Marsalis talk about him, was just right on, you know, like rhythmically, this guy is so sophisticated. Anyway,
Am I wrong, or did Winton produce or have something to do with a movie that came out last year about him?
about Louis,
No, about the guy you were speaking of. There was a movie, not this last January, but the January before. I was in New York at the the jazz convention, and he was talking about a movie that was coming out about a trumpet player.
was that Motherless Brooklyn?
I don't think so,
Mm-hmm.
but
That was an interesting movie.
yeah. By the way, I didn't know that you knew him, but a guy who was my mentor when I was in my 20s here is here, and he said to say hi, Lauren Pickford.
Oh my God, where are you, Lauren?
I believe he's in New Orleans.
Last I heard, he was in Fresno.
I think that was a while back. He's in
Yeah, it's been a while back. Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
New
hi,
Orleans, I
Lauren.
think. Yeah,
You say he's in New Orleans
I
now?
believe so. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Go get him, man. Go get him.
yeah, man. I
Yeah.
saw him play here a few years ago with Wadado Smith, and it was great. Like I said, he was kind of my jazz daddy mentor when I was in my 20s, wandering around the city of LA at 4 in the morning. He would somehow show up, or I'd sleep on his couch, or he was he was he was great for me. Um, and oh, Tim Weston is here. Hello, Tim. And Ron Levy. And Andrew Schermerhorn wants to know how you got the name Putter.
Uh, well, it was originally putt putt, because I was very heavy in grammar school, and they said when I ran, get a hit in baseball, they'd say, "You look like a putt putt," which was a little teeny motorcycle, and they called them doodle bugs. It was a and so they said, "You look like a putt putt when you run." So I was called putt putt for a while, and then in junior high, Jim O'Sullivan started calling me Putter.
And there it was.
There it is. It's in all of its gory.
In all of its gory detail.
Yeah.
Ooh, scary. Oh, by the way, my friend Dan Davila said the movie that I was trying to think of, he's like the other part of my mind. He always knows what I'm thinking, was called Bolden.
Oh yeah, I started to watch it, and
Didn't make it for
they
you.
they don't get it. One of the things about being a musician, one of the things that keeps you in this ridiculous financial condition is that you get to hang out with musicians. And that musicians are the hippest, most intelligent, coolest people, humorous and sardonic, and they're the hippest of the hippest. And the world doesn't know this. I mean, and I love it. I love it. I love being with musicians and hanging out with musicians and being a musician.
So are you saying that the movie Bolden didn't reflect that?
No, I only watched about 20 minutes of it, and I don't know. They don't get it, and most of them don't get it, even fantastic attempts like Bird, and my hats off to Clint Eastwood for trying to make a thing about Bird, who was it was it just doesn't capture the humor and the camaraderie. There's a certain intelligent, I don't want to say sarcastic.
Yeah.
It's not cynical. It's all that stuff, but with humor and love. And but I'm grateful to Clint Eastwood for making that movie. A lot of people put it down, but when you figure that 30 or 40 million people got to hear Bird's fantastic solos, thank you, Clint. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's
yeah.
great. It's really great. Um, let's see. Oh, Michael Diak said he was disappointed in Don Cheadle's Miles.
Yeah, well, there's an example of here they take a witty man and a uh, even wittier musician, and they concentrate on somebody in the deepest, darkest depths of ugh, drug addiction, which is not interesting, which is not fun, and it certainly doesn't illustrate who Miles was. Although, again, great that you get his name out there, but and have Miles racing down Broadway with a gun, like come on, come on. To me, there was a point, and then they did a lot of the later stuff of Miles, the music, which sorry, I don't dig it. I just don't dig it. And the rhythm section is what I really don't care for. It's but
Yeah.
they had one teeny little segment that I don't know, it was about halfway through. It was like Miles playing Milestones, the original Milestones,
Hmm.
that one, and it was like, oh yeah, great, they're gonna get to it now, and that was it. That was it. It was about 15 seconds, but to me, that was the only place where the movie touched.
Yeah. What was that movie? That oh, what's his name? Oh God, my brain. Dexter Gordon was in.
Midnight, around midnight.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
enjoyed that movie. Did you
I did
enjoy
too.
that?
I did too. I did too. I thought they did a real good job there.
Yeah. Boy, my gardener. I'm sorry, my gardener is like really hanging around the window. Um,
Well, ask him to come over here. We got my gardener hasn't shown up in 2 weeks.
oh my gosh.
Well, I understand the heat and the smoke. I mean,
Yeah,
but we,
yeah, it's been pretty bad.
it's yeah.
I want to talk about your teaching because your teaching method is well, what I have known. I haven't actually taken lessons from you, but I remember finding out about what you were doing, and I remember being impressed about it. So, what happened with your teaching? How did you come to teach the way you teach? I mean, I'm sure there's like everybody, there's different moments in time when you teach kind of different things, but you have a particular teaching philosophy, right?
Well, I first began teaching. Let's see, how old was I? I'm not even sure. It was a long time ago. Um,
I like
trying to
his ringtones.
decline. I'm trying to decline this call. Okay. Um, Teaching philosophy. Well, the the basic philosophy is what does this person need? What can I show them? And is it something I can show them, or would they be better off going to a classical teacher and learning how to play the instrument?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, but I remember teaching at Gary's studio in past Gary Foster's studio, uh, a place called Nova Music, and I'm not sure the year, but it was in the first year I was teaching. I think I taught there for 8 years, and the student says to me, "How do you know what notes to play?" That's a good question. That's a great question. And so working as a musician and everything. I was on my way to a gig with John Gross. I was about in my middle 30s and early 30s. And um, I said, John, I'm practicing and I'm doing all this work and everything, and I don't seem to be going forward musically, and I don't know how many people know what a master John Gross is. But, and he says, you just go through the modes, you know. And I said, well, what do you mean? Go through the modes, that was it. So I started working on the modes and, C to C on the white notes, D to D on the white notes. This is all on the bass. And then I did it in every key. And then I discovered that there was a different modes that weren't covered, that the major model didn't produce a melodic minor mode. So I did the melodic minor modes and did the 1, the 2, the 3, and all those. And then the diminished, da 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 da. And so still after 4 years, no, aside from technical, physical, there was really no. And then one time I'm a very committed practicer, but I was so bored with that I said, well, what I'm going to do is I want to play from C to C on the white notes, and then I'm going to play from C to C as if it's the second instead of going D, and I'm going to play C as if it's the second, and then I'm going to play C as if it's the third, and then I'm C. And immediately, it was like oh my God, it was because of the tonality. Because when you do the C to C, D to D, D, you're in C in your mind all the time. But when you do this other thing, you actually see the change.
Yeah.
So I realized that this was a big thing, and that each chord produces a scale. And some chords produce as many as 3 scales, and probably more, but that's as far as I went. And so I put myself on a thing and a practice schedule, going through everything that way, and immediately results. And so I worked on that stuff for 3 or 4 years, and codified it. And I had it on a single page, and I would teach people this page. And people that were, like somebody like, okay, you get it,
Yeah, not a beginner.
Yeah, we have somebody that's could understand it, and got some great results. But I got really great results with myself.
Mm.
And I added stuff to it, and so Norman Ludwin, who's a classical bass player and also writes film music, contacted me, and he says, I heard about your page. He's even publishing things. I heard about your page. He says, I'd like to publish it, but I can't publish a page. It's got to be around 40 pages. So I just put together the way that I show people, and came up with 40 pages. It was doing very well. And then somehow I got connected with Hal Leonard. And Norman said, if you ever get a chance to put this with a real publishing, go. And so now it's with Hal Leonard, and so
cool.
A couple books a week.
What I'm curious what the title is.
I'm really not even sure. Improvising bass, something like that, jazz bass, and Putter Smith. And
yeah.
You go onto Amazon or Hal Leonard, it's there.
Would you say it's more geared towards bass players, or can any musician?
It's in the bass clef. It's
okay.
in fact, before the epidemic, I I had a tenor player and a trumpet player, and I've had guitar players. When I was going to New York, I had several guitar players that took it, and but the book itself on the published book is bass clef.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. So, and you actually touched on going to New York. So there was a point over the last, what, 10 years or something that you decided, I want to go to New York. So, and you started going to New York,
Well,
right? A
I
few
wanted to
times a
go
year.
years ago, but the family situation
Yeah.
prevented it. Like, and although I'm doing okay financially now. I have some rentals, and it's supporting. That's the thing about being a musician is, especially not a famous musician, is that there's no money. And you work all these. You could be working 5 nights a week, and nothing goes into Social Security.
Yeah.
And count yourself lucky if you make your bills. But anyway, so I began to dealing in real estate and ended up with some units, not many, but enough to where we are getting by. And fortunately, the people we rent to are paying their rent, you know, and and I feel like I'm a real decent landlord, which is there's no reason not to be.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no reason to be greedy.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I think it was, I'm not sure, 5, 6 years ago, I started going to New York, and Howard Leonard Thompson
Yeah.
got me to come back, and so I went back there, and I met a few people, and I met Michael Kanan, who's a marvelous piano player, and he offered me to stay in his apartment. He and his wife had a 3-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn, and they offered me, a real good deal, which I did. I kept that up for maybe 3 or 4 years. Then I go back 7 times a year,
Wow.
and
7 times a year. I didn't realize that.
yeah, I was going all the time, and actually I was working gigs back there, and I was actually what I loved about going there was well, here's an example. I arrived at Michael's house in Brooklyn, my place where I stayed, at 7:30. He says at night, and so you feel like playing? And I said, yeah, man, that's why I'm here, And he'd get on the phone, and an hour and a half later, he had a studio in Brooklyn. Hour and a half later, we're in his studio with 3 or 4 great musicians, great drummers and soloists, like all the people you ever wanted to play with. And
Huh.
an hour and a half later, and that the enthusiasm for playing. So that was very inspiring, and then something happened where his landlord, he wasn't allowed to use the extra room because of a gas leak, and so I lost that place, although I still have all my equipment there. And then different health things occurred, in VR and I. And so I haven't been back in maybe a year and a half.
Yeah. Did you?
Things happen in New York, that don't happen here. Like I was playing a session one night, and Jorge Rossi, drummer that played with Brad Meldau, was at the session, and invited me to come to Spain and to do his jazz camp. And so I went there for I think 3 years in a row. Did that, for the month of July or whatever. And all those sort of things don't happen here. Right? I mean, not on the spot like that. At least they've never happened to me, like and it's a great place, and it's such a great city, New York, New York.
Yeah, it's really special.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I almost went to New York so I'm from Boston. And when I was 21, I came to San Francisco and then moved to LA shortly after that. And I spent, a year and a half. Actually, I was a waitress at Dante's. And
Oh, really?
yeah, yeah. A- And so right around the end of that, I was going to move to New York. And then I met my first husband, Gus. And,
Mhm.
of course, that was it.
Yeah, yeah. Love
I mean,
conquers all.
yeah, I like living in LA, but when you go to New York, it's like, oh, whoa, wow, this feels really good. It's so
Hmm.
alive, and um, I think it's probably a little harder to live, than LA. LA is kind of kicked back and a little bit easy to live, but that musical and life energy that you feel in New York is really it's pretty exciting and special. And I've been talking to so many people through this Facebook hang. Like I was talking to Bill Goodwin. You know Bill Goodwin, the drummer?
Yeah, yeah. I was playing with him in New York.
Yeah. So I was talking to him and I realized if I had moved to New York, you know, I all these people he was talking about, well not all of them, but some of them, I would have been working with them,
No,
as
that's
a
the
singer.
dream. That's the dream. If I'd gone there when I was 20, I'd been playing with Bill Evans and all those people, and
Yeah.
that's I think that's there's somebody, it was a Goethe wrote a book uh, about going back, being able to go back, at the age of 17 and knowing what the thing, well, thanks God.
It is what it is. I remember
Uh,
when I met Gary, my husband,
uh-huh.
and I had already been through Gus for 17 years, who was a very creative artist, and then I had a boyfriend who was also a very creative artist. Both of those guys really they didn't have like steady jobs, and I was always creating work for them, because you know me. And then I met Gary, and he was not a musician. But he was the lighting board operator on the Tonight Show, and so he was kind of in the entertainment area. But he was a very different kind of a person. He had worked all his life, and he was uh, stable, very stable. And I freaked out at first. I was like, oh, I don't know if I can handle that, And then I thought,
Is it
well,
too
I've
weird?
already, yeah. And I said I've already done the whole, bohemian thing, and I don't know if there's another life, but if there is, I could probably live the bohemian life the next time, So I went with the more stable thing, and it worked out really well. It was just, a balance of things in your life that you can. I don't know if I would have done it the same way if I could have gone back. Hi, VR.
Hey, hi.
Come on over and say hi.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, the other half of Putter.
Definitely the better half.
Yeah, that's
VR Smith. VR is another dear heart human. Well, of course, Putter and VR, they're like anybody who knows them. And VR is a great singer and kind of in
By
the
the way,
style.
we're just finishing up VR's next CD.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
oh,
It's been a
Cool.
real ordeal. You have to come
oh,
closer,
I
honey.
see.
You see,
I see. Oh God.
getting all
Okay.
that stuff, things like the liner notes.
Hi, honey.
Hey, you're working on the liner
The
notes?
line, well, we got it all done now. We're just getting the final thing, getting ready for the pressing.
Oh, man.
Yeah, yeah. So
It's only taken us several years to do this project.
Who's on the CD?
Michael Kanan,
Hmm.
Tim Pleasant, and Chuck Manning.
Nice.
Mhm.
Great group, of course.
I can't wait for you to hear Chuck's first solo.
Oh,
Starts with a tenor solo.
oh wow.
It
Yeah,
really sets the whole thing up
yeah.
Wow.
in a beautiful way.
Cool. Yeah, listening to I don't know about now, but in the old days when you first started singing, I used to think, oh, Carmen McRae, man, she sings like Carmen McRae. I don't know if you still do, but I love your singing.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that.
So it's a good thing you guys like each other, right? While this whole thing is going on.
Who says we like each
I said you like each other.
other? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, crazy time, huh?
Oh, God. Jeez, really. It's
Yeah.
definitely a crazy time.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Our eyes.
Uh,
Smoke gets in our eyes.
yeah, that too. I mean, that and how is it over where you live? Is it I mean, I'm sure the air is smoky, but there's no fires really close to you, right?
That Bobcat is 25 miles away or 20 miles away.
Okay.
They've got we're 3 miles south of Altadena, where Chuck Manning lives, and they're under evacuation, like
Oh, they are?
or whatever it is, And
Oh.
Ed Zach too. They're all
Yeah, Cheryl Barnes is up there. She's in Sierra Madre.
yeah. Yeah.
who is?
Cheryl Barnes.
Oh, I thought she was in Altadena.
Oh, Sierra Madre is right next door. Yeah.
I thought she lived near Chuck Manning's old house.
Oh,
Mm.
yeah. Yeah. It's
Let's talk about streets. Do you remember North Figueroa? The thing. VR spent a great deal of her middle youth in San Francisco. She was partners in crime with Allen Ginsberg and Ferlinghetti and all those people, and along with, she was on the jazz scene, but they were all hanging together, the beat poets and the bebop players.
Hmm.
And I forget where I was going with that, but
well, VR was
That's
hanging out
normal.
in San Francisco.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't know either.
sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, Paul
Yeah.
Krybek is here, and I was when he was on, he gave me a list of all the LA clubs that he remembered.
Oh, far out.
That's
Was
such a
the
Paul
digger on
Krybek
it?
thing. Huh?
Was the digger on it?
I don't know. Was the digger on it, Paul? He made a comment that New York is like South Pasadena without the glitter.
What glitter?
I didn't know South Pasadena had glitter.
I didn't either. Yeah.
Maybe it's the other way around.
I believe so.
Hey, Michael Diock asked Putter, did you know that Keltner made a record with Brad Meldau about 18 months ago?
I think I read something about that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mike Diak.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. When you said it earlier, I thought you said you were talking about Michael Dees.
Oh.
Mike Diak. Hey, Mike. Wow. A little 3 for Albert. He wrote a song called Little 3 for Albert. They were all running buddies. Albert Stinson and Jim Keltner and Jack Folks and the vibe player. I can't remember Christensen. I can't remember his name. He got very successful and recorded for Blue Note a lot. Mike Diak, he'll know who that is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for a while, I remember So VR was for many years, actually. You've been, I'm sure you're not doing it right now, but you had been playing once a week, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, with like Jim Salaji, right, on
yeah.
piano. And also the bass player, your friend, the bass player who doesn't live here anymore.
Isla.
Isla, yeah.
Yeah.
And did you do that for how many years?
I don't know.
Well, I don't know if you might be thinking they were getting together all the time here at the house,
Yeah.
but we had a gig for 7 years at a restaurant in Europe, the
Was that 7 years?
Yeah.
Beaujolais. Yeah,
Oh my God.
yeah, yeah,
But they fed us real well.
yeah. That was
Yeah.
good. Yeah, and that
This
was with
French
Dave Koontz.
restaurant.
Yeah, really a good restaurant.
That was
That
with
was a
Dave
cool
Koontz.
gig.
And let me say a little something about my best friend, Dave Koontz. I met Dave when I was 11,
Yeah.
and we began playing together and working together when I was 13. And we've been hanging heavy ever since. In fact, we went out to see Julie Kelly and Karen Hammock. Was it last Friday or Friday
Yeah.
before that?
It was
And
on my birthday. Yeah.
for some reason that Karen wasn't there,
Right.
and then Dave's son Larry Koontz and Bobby, his wife, was with us. But Dave was when I began playing seriously. Dave was my mentor. I mean, all I was trying to do was get in the groove with Dave, and Dave, he still has like a steel trap mind. He knows every tune and you just can't believe what this guy knows. And then when his son began emerging as a great talent, I felt like there was a period where Larry sounded just like Dave. And I mean, really just like Dave. And then he developed into the monster that he is now. And he's not a monster. He's a highly developed, sensitive musician. And but Dave, I owe everything to Dave. Yeah.
Dave's beautiful. One time I did a gig with Dave. There for a while I used to use two guitar players and do a gig, or two or more even. But one time I did a gig with Dave and Larry, and
Oh,
I was so blown away because they were literally from the same universe musically. It was just wow.
yeah.
That
Yeah.
was a real wonderful experience that I had with them. Yeah.
Yes.
And Dave's so humble.
He's so humble, and he's really a musical genius. And but he would cringe at that description. But I mean, he'll play the most wonderful thing. You say, Dave, what did you do there? What did you do there? He'll go, oh well, you could do this, and he'll play something even more beautiful, or you could do this or thing. But what did you just do? He doesn't remember. And I mean, real, jeez,
Yeah.
incredible.
I always make this joke about guitar players too, because no matter how old they are and how many years they've been playing, they'll show up and they'll say to their friend, "Wow, I just found this new voicing." And I'm like, "Really? After 70 years of playing,
Yeah, that's
damn."
right. That's right.
So
And who
interesting.
are even worse than them are steel guitar players. They're madmen,
Huh.
absolutely insane.
Wow, I didn't know that actually.
Yeah, they're looking at everything in a different angle.
Yeah.
Look how you can put this with them. You can see the bats. You know, yeah.
Hey, by the way, Mike Diak said Renee Pineda.
Oh yeah, Renee. Hey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Renee.
And
Renee
Paul
Pineda.
Krybick doesn't remember the digger. Where was the digger?
It was in East LA on 3rd on Beverly.
He's too young for the digger.
Yeah,
think
Paul,
he
you're
is,
too young.
Yeah.
I think he is too young.
Ray Graziano used to run
Too
the sessions.
young.
Ray Graziano used to run the sessions there, and people like Art Pepper would be there all the time, and
Huh.
all these, a whole bunch of older guys. And
That's where I plugged into jazz.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was there every weekend.
Were you with Putter then?
No, God, no.
No.
This was in the 50s.
God,
How
no.
old were you then?
I like that.
But, well, actually, I was like 16.
Oh,
Uh, God. But I mean, I used to lie, I used to lie to get in.
She'd walk in with Ray Graziano.
oh.
Ray was an alto player who played in the Bird School. He was completely unschooled,
Wow.
and played hot, hot. And he and Jim Hall drove out to the West Coast. I think they're from Pittsburgh. They drove out to the West Coast together, and because being unable to read is a real detriment. The Ray was like that. But,
Yeah. So VR, you knew Ray. Was that how you actually got in? You went in with Ray?
Yeah.
How did you know him?
Well, just because I met him there.
Oh,
I met him there, and I said, I gotta get in there, to hear the music. It was by East LAJC.
okay.
That's right about where it is,
Yeah.
across the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That must have been fun.
Oh God, it was just wonderful. It was really wonderful. And, and then, I mean, from there, I started going into Hollywood.
Oh.
I met my first husband there, actually.
In Hollywood?
No, there at
Oh.
the Digger.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah.
Was he a musician?
Yeah, he was a drummer.
What was his name?
Lee Williams.
I knew him as Richard Williams, and he was a dead ringer for Jack Nicholson.
Wow.
And supposedly that and I mean, you see pictures, it's like Jack Nicholson. Supposedly there were twin brothers. Jack Nicholson had a twin brother. They were separated and farmed out to different people. And but so I mean, so when I look at him, I go,
Interesting.
Lee.
I know.
That's
Yeah.
Richard. That's really him. But
Can I see it on, like, if I Google him, will he come up?
no.
I don't think so.
But there's a picture VR with him that shows up pretty good.
Wow.
We caught a minute of Five Easy Pieces the other night, and God, that's Richard.
And they talk alike.
They talk alike, and that's
Interesting.
yeah.
Wow. Huh. I never had asked you about that. How long were you married to him?
3 years.
Okay. Because you were getting ready for Putter.
Well, I married somebody else.
Oh, aha.
I married a trombone player.
Aha, trombone. Did you hear that, Scott? Okay.
No, it was a valve trombone, actually. Yeah.
Aha.
Yeah. And he was really not a nice guy.
Oh,
Not a nice guy.
yeah. So that didn't even last 3 years.
No. But
A guy who will live in infamy.
the thing is that Lee introduced me to Putter.
Oh, okay.
So,
Was it love at first sight?
no.
I like how she said that pretty quick, ladies and
Well,
gentlemen.
neither one of us. I don't think either one of us was like tremendously turned on.
Yeah.
You know. No, right. Shut
Well,
up.
This is like one of those commercials. Were you turned on? I was totally turned on. She was turned on. And then she says, nah, we weren't really turned on to each
Oh, we
other.
weren't turned on at all. No.
How did you, um, this is a broad question, but this is just, you don't have to answer a huge answer, but, looking at your life, Potter, we already spoke about this a little bit. You were talking about being a musician, and it's kind of hard. You don't put money into Social Security all the time and all that. So, um, did you ever talk about, wow, maybe we should change our careers, or did you just were you so just you know what? We love jazz and this is our life and this is what it's going to be. Did you have an oversight of that?
No.
I did, but she didn't.
No. No.
I took a civil service exam when I was about 31. And then I got called in to work for the IRS.
Oh,
And I
God.
went in and, interviewed and got the gig
Oh,
and went in for the first day of orientation, and that night when I came home, she says, I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to do that. I want you to be a bass player. Don't do that, so, okay. So I canceled, and then I was audited every year for 15 years.
are you serious?
I'm
Yeah.
serious. I've been audited 15 times.
Oh my God. That
And they
is so
never got
weird.
anything. They never got anything, because there was nothing to get. But, yeah, they were mad.
That's weird.
Yeah.
That's really
So one of
weird.
the lines, they said, well, what do you think you can do by being with the IRS? And I said, well, I think I can win some friends for the IRS. Oh, you're hired.
But overall, you guys just went, well, no, we're supposed to be artists.
I never thought about money until it was, I'm trying to think of the year, 72 or 73. After I made the movie, my musical career was gone. I mean, people wouldn't call me, and I'd say, how come nobody's calling? Say, oh man, you're a big star now. Come on, all I was making was scale for this gig. They didn't pay me star money, and I just did that on behalf of musicians to show them what a musician could do. I mean, really, that was my strength through the
Yeah.
whole. Hey, nobody could play a decent solo on Stella by Starlight. You give any actor without musical experience, give them 6 months to see if they can get it together. They can't. They couldn't. They might be able to do a blues thing, like Bruce Willis, with the harmonica,
Yeah.
But I'm talking about playing through the changes. Anyway, so I had no work, and my unemployment ran out, and we had this house, and VR has this talent for making a house beautiful, just make it beautiful,
Hmm.
And so going to Goodwill and buying things and thrift stores and yard sales and stuff. So tried to get on food stamps because we were down. I had $500 in the bank, and that was it. No work, and the worker came to our house and looked around and said, well, you have to spend that $500 and you have to put your house up for sale. And I got so mad. I got so mad. Like, what do you mean? All I'm asking for is a little help for food stamps, Now you got to get rid of, you got to be totally impoverished. And I was pissed, and that's when I got into real estate.
Oh.
Started looking around how to do that, and how to do this, and how to do that. And all this time I was doing this, it was always in my mind that I'm a musician, and spending the time, practicing, doing a full practice, and playing every chance I get, which would be 4 or 5 times a week. And so I did what became known, this was in the 70s, it became known as flipping houses.
Oh, huh.
I did that for about 5 years,
Oh, wow.
and then realized that it was foolish to flip houses. Once you get one, hang on to it,
Yeah.
and so, and then the other thing about thinking financially, because we do live in capitalism, uh, you have to figure out what do you need at the end when you really can't be bringing the bread in anymore.
Yeah.
What do you need? And that's something I read is you figure out what you want, and then or have that be your goal.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we've done, and I'm about 2/3 of the way
You're 2/3 of the way to the goal.
to the goal. I'm about 2/3 of the way to the goal. And but
Yeah.
we're functioning now.
Yeah.
We're very lucky, very very lucky.
Yeah. And VR, you have been an artist, right? In the past,
Yeah,
like a painter and
yeah, but I mean, I also was an improv actor for 10 years,
oh,
and with this great group, and the Synergy Trust it was called,
hmm.
and we worked out all over, and that was like the highlight.
Do you miss doing that?
Oh yeah.
Well, let me tell you a couple of highlights of her career. The
Okay.
Ellen Burstyn came in this group. She was improvising with VR, and decided to do a play using this group.
Oh,
And when she introduced the group, she said, "This lady, VR Smith, is said to be the greatest improviser in the world." I mean,
oh my God.
that's what Ellen Burstyn. Am I right here?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what she said. VR's trying to pretend she's shy.
Well, no, I'm not. I'm actually picking my thumbnail.
Yeah. And recently they had a reunion of this group, and several of the people have gone on to have big careers in movies. And
Ah,
this one guy named Danny Goldman has been a casting director for a lot of big movies, and he said that about VR. He said, she was the best of all of us,
wow.
and then he passed away, just like several weeks after that.
Oh,
This is in the last few months.
oh, wow.
But one time they were doing a workshop in Claremont College, and they do a thing and they demonstration and and they do some stuff. And the thing about this improvisation group they were doing was they weren't doing a joke stuff. It wasn't.
We didn't go for jokes.
That they were trying to be really organic.
That was one of the first
And
rules.
which is funny when I tell you who the guy is. So they got one student up who had supposedly had never been up before. It was Robin Williams, and they said he just was insane. He just like honk, like it's like instantly, like he was at home immediately, and then 2 years later he's on Mork and Mindy.
Oh,
And like that,
Yeah.
Of course, everything he was doing was going for the joke, which is fine. I mean, fine. Who doesn't love Robin Williams? What a talent!
I know.
And that group that she was in um, enabled Robin Williams to.
Flower.
Yeah, there you go.
That's interesting. Wow.
Yeah,
Cool. And the fact that the group didn't really go for the jokes so much, that's interesting too. Because,
We didn't have any set stuff either.
right, you were improvisational.
It was really an improv. We
Yeah.
would get suggestion from the audience,
Yeah.
and then just take it from there. And it also included music. I mean, we would improvise music,
Yeah.
and it was really terrific scene,
Yeah, they had a lot of rules,
Yeah, we did.
like we do in jazz. You got to be thinking of the melody and keep your place in the tune.
Well, that's how I thought about it. I thought about it like it was music,
Yeah.
you know.
And there's always the say yes factor, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
yes, and
Yes. My group Fish to Birds, the a cappella
yeah.
group. Yeah, we've been together about 7 years,
Mhm.
and we have they're kind of rules that we follow, and but it's what's really fun is that it morphs. It can morph so quickly and gel and become something so unexpected and fun. Um, and sometimes we use a little bit of acting, I guess, too, because it's not all about music, and somebody has a feeling and they take it, and we're yes and
Right.
so it's some of the same stuff. It's fun, and it changed my life a lot to get a little fluent at that.
Well, this changed mine too. I mean, it was really an exciting trip.
Yeah.
I mean, we rehearsed once a week,
Mm,
and
wow.
we performed once a week. So it was like, and once a week. But I mean, we went here and there and performed out. But we
Yeah.
had our own theater in Silver Lake.
Oh, cool.
So
Wow.
anyway,
Well, that's something I think about that a lot. Especially, being married to someone who's not necessarily an improvisational artist, right? Even though he set up the lighting for the Tonight Show, it wasn't exactly improv. He worked on it, put it into action, and then that was the creative part. But I really think that improvisation is something that's so invaluable to learn about, and it's kind of I guess one of my sole purposes is to give people improvisation as a gift, because if you are okay with improvisation, you're going to move through life a little easier.
is that right? Oh,
you know?
yeah. Well, no, really. We do improvise our life. We do
Yes.
improvise our life.
Yeah, even if you don't know it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's
Yes.
just one of those things that we do.
Hmm.
does nothing for me. Nothing.
Yeah. The thing, one of the things that comes up in talking to people for me is also when I was younger, the thing that I moved towards and liked about jazz was the feeling that the musicians created, not just the music, but by their person, they had a viewpoint, like kind of a viewpoint that people who weren't musicians didn't have. There was this kind of a spiritual, basically. It was something that was reaching out, and also, like one of the groups that I saw myself, my first choice was Modern Jazz Quartet. So, elegance, kind of respect and responsibility, and this kind of an ethics presence, and I mean, so that's become more and more and more, you know, obvious to me what I was attracted to, and why jazz still turns me on and what kind of jazz turns me on, is it's not just the music, it's the people who make it, right? You guys saw that the whole time too, right? That's why what attracted you, that's what kind of people you are.
That's right. Isn't
There you
that
go.
right?
I'm
I
not
guess
following.
I said it all.
Yeah, yeah. What is it?
What?
Discretion, the better part of valor. Try not to clutter the field.
You played with so many people. Besides Monk, who were some of your the people who made a big difference in your life? Monk and Dave Koontz, playing with and who struck you as wow, and who you got a lot of life lessons from.
Well, which do you want, life lessons or is that not necessarily the same?
Yeah.
Uh, Walter Norris was a big mentor of mine. He took me under his wing when I was about 16 or 17, 18. We played together all the time, and uh, up from then until when he went to New York. And then when he went to New York, I would go out every once in a while. This is when I was 21, 22, and we'd play there. And then I'm not sure if it was 15 years ago that he asked me to come to New York because they were making a movie about his life and he wanted me to be in it. And
Huh.
so we went out there and it was unbelievable. It was like today. I mean, the weather was pathetic. It was so hot.
Huh.
We had a penthouse. It was glass, and it was so hot. And they don't have air conditioning in Germany. And oh God, we were like sitting there with naked with wet towels wrapped around us. It was
God.
horrible. But anyway, we made an album while we were there, a duo album. I think that was the third album I made with Walter. But Walter was a tremendous, tremendous influence on me. We back when I was a teenager, we would play. We would play. He would solo with me playing 12 choruses of Stella by Starlight. We'd go up a fourth each time, so it was 12 different keys, and then it would be my turn to do the same thing, and we'd do that. That would be our
Wow.
that kind of work, really
Mm,
mental, and
yeah.
uh, so he was a tremendous influence at that point. It was a great experience playing with Alan Broadbent. Uh, for one reason, is playing playing with for lovely audiences all the time. Other people, I played with Warren Marsh for a lot for 1 year, almost every night,
Oh, wow.
and that was I was way out of my league. I was 20 or 21, and I was way out of my league. And another person that's been a big influence on me is Gary Foster. He's as a human being and as a teacher and he was like the most wonderful, wonderful person and inspiring. He when I was teaching at his studio, I was in my early 30s, and one thing about Gary was whenever he played, the moment he played, he was like gorgeous. The minute the first note, and I said to him, Gary, how do you do that? How do you manage to start off at the top? And he saw I was serious. He says, come into my office at 5. So I did, and he sat me down and gave me an hour of instruction. And I followed what he told me to do ever since then. And so discovering what it is you need to practice and how much, and then being uh, uh, committed to the practicing and committed to working on the instrument. And so for the last 50 years, I've been there, whatever it is, 45 years. I've been playing that playbook, you know, and
Wow.
but what an inspiration he is. Let's see, I'm trying to think.
So many, I
I'm sure
know.
there's a bunch of people I'll say, I should have said no, I should have said no.
That's okay because you know that's how it is. The talking in the moment is always really just about the moment, right? I
I
mean,
feel like someone who is seeking the oracle
yeah.
will find her everywhere.
Hmm.
If you're seeking that, it's everywhere. And then, you know, you'll get, the voice of God, you know.
That's a great comment, and we're actually at the end. It's been 2 hours, believe it or not.
Oh my gosh. Well, this has been a great pleasure, Cathy.
Me
Tremendous.
too. I'm so. I mean, there's so much more that I would talk about with you and find out. You know, I'm sure the listeners are, want to delve into your history and your head and heart.
I'm sure they
And
both do, yeah.
uh,
And
and
I didn't think I was going to get in on this, actually.
I'm really glad you did.
So, you know,
I'm glad you
Bravo.
did.
Bravo.
It's good to see you two, both of you.
yeah, really.
Yeah. Oh no. Um, let's see. So I just wanted to tell everybody. Actually, tomorrow, you know who's going to be on? Scott Whitfield.
Oh, yay, Scott.
Yeah. So he's going to be on tomorrow. He's my guest. And then I don't know if you remember Kevin Latow, the singer. She used to live here, and she's a very good singer. She had a
No.
very solid career of singing, recording, and she worked with Sergio Mendes and the Yellow Jackets. Anyway, so she's going to be on Sunday, and then Monday, Carmen Bradford will be on. Um, you know whose child she
That's
is?
Bobby's daughter, right?
Bobby, and you know who her mother is?
No.
Melba Joyce.
No kidding.
Wow.
I'll be darned.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Wow. And is she still alive?
I don't know if Melba's still alive.
Melba.
Yeah, I don't know if she is. I
Was
feel
she
like
with,
she's not, but
was she with Count Basie for a while, or am I thinking of somebody else?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Well,
Well,
Carmen sang, let's see, I think she sang with Count Basie for, a little bit.
okay,
Um,
that's probably what I'm thinking.
yeah. But yeah, so also next week for those listening, I okay, so I've done this for about 6 months. I've had about 140 guests, and I'm just cutting back a little because I've been doing 6 days a week. So I finally thought, yeah, I'm ready to go down a little and have a little more time for myself. So I'm cutting down to 3 days a week starting next week. And the days are shifting around because it took me a minute to decide which days I wanted to have. But I'm still going to continue on. I'm booked all the way into November, so I just really like doing this. Oh, hi, Pinky. Pinky Winters is saying
Hey,
hi.
Pinky, the pink
Mwah.
one.
And so, yeah, and what else? Monday, just wanted to do a shout out for Sunny Wilkinson. Sunny Wilkinson is in Michigan, and she's starting to do this kind of a thing every 2 weeks with uh, different kinds of artists
Now,
who she feels.
I know that name,
Sunny
Sunny
Wilkinson.
is,
She used to live here. She was a fabulous singer and teacher, very tall, blonde.
did she
Um,
have did she teach at Lily City College? I mean, Pasadena City College?
I don't know.
No, that's Andrea Baker. Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
Andrea
Sunny
Baker.
Wilkins, I know the name, but I can't.
She was,
Like,
she left here probably about 25 years ago, maybe something like that. And great singer. And you would love her husband as well.
your voice just left. You just went silent.
Oh,
Well, I guess that's it.
my internet connection is in unstable. Can you hear me now?
Unstable. It's an unstable genius. Yeah.
Anyway, you'd love her husband, Ron Newman. He's a really smart musician and a really nice person. Hey, Jason Harnell. Hi.
Jason Harnell. Yeah,
He's-
one of my very favorite people, and his wife.
he misses you, he said.
Oh, well, my condolences.
Okay, two more shout outs. One is jazzvoice.org or .com for those jazz singers out there who want to learn from some of the best jazz singers teaching. Go there. You pay very little money and you get a lot of workshops and lessons. Jazzvoice.com. Also, the California Jazz Foundation is a foundation here in LA that actually helps financial aid to jazz musicians here in LA. So if you're interested in giving 5, 10, 100, whatever to them, that would be great. And I think that's about it. I want everybody to know that um, I just thought about this last night. I thought I want to say something at the end, like uplifting, besides what we've already been doing. But I just want to say that sometimes it takes a lot for perspective to be uplifting in this particular moment in time because there's so much crap going on. But it's
I
just
think.
but it's a choice of how you look at life every day, how you get up and look at it every day. And I just want to encourage people to have faith in a state of mind that's good and that will pull us all through.
Here,
So
here,
that's here. Okay.
here,
We're
here.
very fortunate to be here.
Yes, we are.
Okay, Kathy.
Putter Smith, I love you very much. VR Smith, I love you too.
We do too. We do too. We do you too.
Okay, have a great day, you guys, and ladies and gentlemen, you have a great day too. And I'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. What do I do?